CNBC-TV18 News break has been confirmed. Aviation regulator, the DGCA, has ordered all airlines flying Boeing 737 and 787 fleet to inspect the locking mechanism on the fuel control switches by the 21st of July. This comes after the preliminary investigation report on the Air India crash, which was released over the weekend, highlighted that the fuel control switches transitioned from run position to cut-off position within a second of each other, moments after takeoff. The DGCA order says several airlines, internationally and domestic, have started inspection of their fleet as per FAA's 2018 Special Airworthiness Information Bulletin. Sources say Air India has already completed inspection of 50% of its Boeing 787 aircraft earlier in the day. Air India CEO Campbell Wilson wrote to employees saying that the AAIB's preliminary report, or the Aircraft Investigation Bureau's preliminary report, had found no mechanical or maintenance issues with the aircraft or engines. He went on to say that all mandatory maintenance tasks had been completed, that there was no issue with the quality of fuel and no abnormality with the takeoff roll either. He also added that pilots had passed their mandatory pre-flight breath analyzer tests and there were no observations pertaining to their medical status. CNBC-TV18's Madhiya Mujawar joins us with more. Madhiya, take us through what this fuel control switch issue is all about. What is the DGCA now doing about it in terms of getting the checks done?
Well, the fuel control switches on the Boeing 787 are now at the heart of this investigation of the AI171 crash. The AAIB's preliminary report reveals that the fuel supply to both engines was cut just seconds after takeoff. Why? Because both fuel switches were moved from run to cut off, essentially killing power to the engines. I obtained this video that you will watch on your screen from a 787 engineer showing how these switches behave. You can see they are built not to move on their own. You can see that these aren't your ordinary toggle switches. Each fuel switch on the 787 is protected by a spring-loaded V-shaped locking mechanism. Think of it like a mechanical guard sitting firmly between two positions. Run when the fuel flows to the engines, cut off when the fuel supply stops. To move them, you have to pull them out, as you can see in the video, then move them up or down depending on when you're using them. The V-lock has a job. It blocks the switch from sliding unless it is intentionally lifted. In other words, you can't just bump these switches with your hand, elbow, clipboard, or even turbulence and expect them to move. The lock was designed to prevent exactly these situations. But back in 2018, the US FAA flagged cases where these switch locks disengaged unexpectedly and recommended inspections of the locking mechanism and replacement if the locks disengaged, something that was not done by Air India. The AAIB says that both switches moved within 1 second, but it is still unclear who moved them or why one pilot is heard asking the other, "Why did you cut off?" and the other replied, "He didn't." That line alone points to uncertainty in the cockpit, suggesting that even the crew was surprised by what had occurred. So could the switches have moved unintentionally despite the locking design is one question. Or is there a deeper mechanical or electrical issue where the switch state remained in run position physically, but internally the system interpreted it as cutoff? Now, what we do know is this: moments after the cutoff, the switches were turned back on, restarting both the engines. So there's another possibility, given the pilot's exchange, is if it was deliberately moved to cut off by one pilot and he lied to the other pilot that he didn't do it, and then the switches were turned to run. That is one possibility. Another important factor was that the landing gears not retracting, as we watched in the video as well, and the AIB report also talks about it, that the landing gears were not retracted after takeoff. That has also raised questions if there was a bigger system failure that we are not aware of. Now, switches are the crucial part of this investigation for now. They are small, but the implications are massive, not just for one flight, but for an entire fleet of aircraft worldwide flying every day around the world at different airlines.
Global